Well, hello. Thanks for coming back to check out another video. So, we are here today to do the eyeshadow palette tag. This was created by Samantha and Allie Glines, so I will have those lovely ladies listed in my description box so that you can go check them out. I know that they did this version, like a version 1 last year, and then they updated it for this year in 2022. You probably saw a lot of people doing this in January, but I'm just now having time to sit down and film it, so I know it's a little late, but better late than never, and I will never miss an opportunity to put my 2 cents in where it's probably not needed. But like I said, it is the Eyeshadow Palette Tag Volume 2, so I have all my palettes here. Hopefully you guys are excited for this, and I'm not going to ramble on too much further. We are just going to get into this. There are 11 questions, if I'm not mistaken, or 11 prompts. Okay, so the first prompt is all-time favorite, which is like really hard to decide. That would be like picking a favorite child, you know, like picking a favorite eyeshadow palette. This one did come to mind fairly easily though, because I absolutely fell in love with the brand. Like, this was one of my first palettes from them. This was a gift. It was very thoughtful, like just super excited. It always just makes me feel like some type of way, like some type of special way, you know? So I had to go with the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This was a holiday release from 2019, if I am not mistaken, but this is what it looks like on the inside. It is sadly now discontinued, but there's no like, there are some unique shadows in here, but it's not like, don't feel bad if you missed out on it. You know what I mean? Like, don't have any FOMO. I really though do enjoy this. I have 2 pans in some of the cream to powder shades in here. Obviously, I tend to gravitate more towards this end, but you know, that's okay. I have been exploring this part of the palette a little bit more. One thing that I love about this that also makes it an all-time favorite is that it's one of those palettes where no matter how many times you use it, I feel like if you try different color combinations, you'll really be surprised with how well they go together. And this palette will just keep you on your toes, like always keep surprising you with the things that you can accomplish with it. So this is my all-time favorite palette. Okay, a new favorite palette. Now I really don't like this question because I don't want to, like, opinions change, and especially the more you use something, like I have found that I'll, like, first impression think something is really good, and then by the second, third, or fourth impression, I'm like, no, I don't like this as much as I thought I did. Or on the flip side, like the first impression could be trash. But this is a palette that I have used quite a bit since getting it into my life. It is quite new into my life as well, but it is the Blend Bunny the Dollhouse palette. So none of their other palettes really spoke to me, and then this one came along, and this is like her take on neutral eyeshadows, and I just think that it's so well done. Like, even though it is neutral shades, there's just something a little bit different about this palette than other typical neutral palettes. I have not obviously dipped into every eyeshadow in this palette because it is quite a large eyeshadow palette, but out of all the shades that I've used, I've really enjoyed them. They blend quite nicely. Even these like darker mattes here, I know that it looks very black on camera, but these are just very dark shadows that correspond to the rose. So what I have found is sometimes with these darker mattes, especially more colorful ones, like think your purples and greens and like blues, they can be a little bit harder to formulate. So they come off like a little patchy sometimes, or they're just hard to blend and hard to work with. But I don't find that to be the case with these mattes in this palette. So I really think this is just a great neutral palette. It's kind of like the only neutral palette that I need in my collection. Okay, so this next one is Keep for the Memories, which now I'm going to be real with you. When I hear that prompt, like Keep for the Memories, it makes me feel like this is a palette that's super old and you don't use it anymore, but you just can't part with it. Like you just, you know, you kind of sit it up on your bookshelf. You know what I mean? I still use this palette. Like, it has a lot of life left in it, in my opinion. And there's really no like one particular memory attached to it. Like, I didn't wear this as like my wedding day palette. Like, I didn't wear this to any type of like special event, but just for whatever reason, like it always, I don't know, it just, I love the eye looks that I do with it. I feel like it's a very effortless palette. So it is the Persona Identity palette. I have the old school packaging where it was the artwork, and I'm just gonna say, I know why they updated it because it's a lot easier to keep that plastic, like basic white packaging clean, but there's just something, this is much more like aesthetically pleasing in my opinion, and I don't mind if people's makeup looks a little grubby. That just means that you're using it and loving it. So this is what mine looks like on the inside. Obviously, it's pretty banged up. We have 3 shadows done and 2 with pan. This one technically has pan on it, but I dropped this palette, and that's how that shade kind of shattered in the crumble. It shattered and crumbled in the corner. Anyway, like I said, there's no like real one memory that stands out with this palette, but it's just one of those that I just greatly enjoy it. It was like, it's just a favorite cool tone neutral palette, and so even when it does go off and expire on me, I will just always like keep this. I will have this like sitting out on a shelf for display or something like that. But yeah, keeps for the memories. Okay, let's talk about an underrated palette. Now, I always find underrated, overrated type prompts really difficult because I watch a lot of YouTube and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, but I only have like a few select people that I will go to if I'm interested in a new product and I want to see like a review or their thoughts or their opinions. Like, I don't look at everyone's video. So I really have a hard time deciding what has been like overhyped or underhyped. But I feel like this one is because the people that I watch consistently for that review style type content, or like, you know, eyeshadow looks and things like that, I never saw any of them talk about this palette. So this is the Sonic Bloom palette from ColourPop. The background of this is a little bit reflective. Yeah, maybe if I hold it like this, you can get a good color representation. So this came out after Lush Life, if I'm not mistaken. Lush Life is a great palette with that great ColourPop formula, but I feel like with ColourPop, they'll have that palette where it's the great formula, and then their next 2 to 3 palettes are either the like formula or the like, this is okay, like you can make it work. So I don't know if people were just expecting this palette to have that formula. It doesn't. It's the great formula. I feel like it just got slept on. Maybe Lush Life was still like having its heyday and they released this too quickly, because that is something ColourPop does. They just, you know, spit out those releases. So also it could just be that like it gets lost in the shuffle because they have so many releases. But yeah, this screams fall to me with these like berry tones, but I do think this will be a fun palette to pull out like in the spring and the summer to use, because it has this really nice like green shadow, this like magenta pink, and then this gold. All could be really fun shades for this time of year as well. Okay, not a favorite palette, but you can't declutter it. If you have been here for a while, you probably already know the answer to this. It's the Natasha Denona Love palette. I got mine on sale, and I wish I would have like taken a step back and really thought about this, because I didn't need this palette. I have these colors represented time and time again, just in different palettes. Now, I don't have like a dedicated lovey-dovey pink red kind of palette like this one, but these colors, at the end of the day, I do have them. I think I was more swept up in the hype of like, oh, this is gonna go away and I'm gonna miss out, and it's $30, you know, it's half off, or I guess it was $32, but whatever. Like, I just jumped on it super quick without really thinking about it. It was very much an impulse buy. So I really love her formula. Like, I have come to really appreciate it, know how to use it. Like, not trying to like toot my own horn here, but it's just a brand that I'm really comfortable with. So it's not like, that's not my hang up. I think my hang up is just, at the end of the day, I feel like this is her most uninspiring color story. Like, it's the safest, you know what I mean? This doesn't push any type of boundaries or anything like that. And so I just struggle to reach for it, but I'm not yet ready to part with it, because I only got this in the fall of 2021, and I really want to, you know, give myself like the opportunity to learn to love it. Okay, so next question, favorite collab palette. So I do have quite a few collab palettes, and honestly, they could have all just went into this spot, but I didn't want to repeat any answers. I felt like that it kind of took away some of the fun of this tag video. So the palette that I went with is actually one of my most used eyeshadow palettes, so it is a favorite. It's an all-time favorite, really. In saying that, you probably know what it is, but it's the ABH Jackie Aina palette. So I'm gonna open this up for you. This eyeshadow palette, we have been through some things together. We have been through thick and thin. I have 7 pans of eyeshadow in this palette as we sit here today. So I have pan on Supreme, I have pan on Credit, Lithuation, Zam, Shookington, Trust Issues, and Sponsored. I just think this is the best palette that ABH has ever put out. I'm not gonna lie. The like if you've tried Modern Renaissance and Soft Glam and Subculture, you know like it's a very powdery formula. It kicks up, and some of those shades can be a little bit difficult to blend out and work with. Like even from Modern Renaissance, some of those like reds and pinks. But this palette, I don't know, it's just very effortless. Every shadow in here is just, it blends out like a dream, like they all go together really well. I absolutely love this color story. I know that looking at it, it looks like, bam, this is a fall palette. But it's really a great all year round palette as well, because in the springtime you can play with like the more pinky shades. In the summertime you've got like the red, and if you top trust issues on top of this red shade, oh, it is just such a pretty, like, you know, I call it my Katniss Everdeen look. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I feel like the girl on fire when I do that. So yeah, favorite collab palette. Okay, a 2021 favorite palette. So this one was also pretty difficult to pick out. This palette was sweetly sent to me from Laura. I believe I got it sometime in September of 2021. So I didn't have it for very long in 2021, but I just absolutely loved dipping into this and exploring it and creating such fun, bright, and colorful looks that it just made the most sense. Like, this is the palette that I enjoyed the most on the last half of the, like the last half of the end of the year. You get what I'm trying to say, from September on. So it is the Glamlite Cake Palette. This is the first time that I got to try the Glamlite formula, and I really do enjoy it. I will say their shimmer shadows, you either need to spray your brush or make sure that you have some type of sticky base down, because there is like a little bit of fallout. Just wipe it away with a duo fiber brush. It's okay. But yeah, this has a mirror on it. Let me try to not blind you. I just opened that in like the most awkward way possible. But this is such a like well-rounded rainbow palette. This is the only rainbow palette that I need in my collection, in my opinion. I also love that within this palette, you have like your matte shade, like this is the matte yellow, and then this banana shade is like the shimmer version of that. It just makes it a little bit easier, I think, to come into this palette and create some eye looks when you have both a shimmer and a matte version. The only downfall to this is that there's only one green shadow, this key lime shade. There is no like green shimmer in here, and I really wish that we had one in here. But yeah, I absolutely love this formula. You can layer the mattes on top of each other and really take this into like different directions. It's just been a lot of fun to play with. So again, I greatly appreciate that she thought of me to like send this to, and I have gotten a lot of use and enjoyment out of it. Okay, so the next one is Didn't Expect to Love, and I knew exactly what I wanted to put in here right away. So I'm not quite sure when I acquired this palette. I know I bought it when I bought some other palettes from the brand, and then I got it in person and I was like, oh, Haley, you shouldn't have bought this. So it just sat in my drawer for a very, very long time. And then when I had my hiatus, I was looking at my makeup and I was like, you know what? I am not going into the new year and having palettes that I haven't used. So you need to either use it or come December 31st, like it's leaving your collection. Like, we are not going to do this. And I had still like a hang up. Like, I was like, I don't want to use it. Like, I'm intimidated by it. So I finally picked it up and used it and fell in love with it. And that first time I used it, I was like, I'm probably going to declutter this. And I didn't. This is one of my favorite palettes. Like, you guys, you're going to be surprised. It's the Blueberry Muffin palette. Can you believe that I was like this close to decluttering this from my collection when I love it so much? Now the background is super reflective, so I'm very sorry about that. But this is just a great neutral palette with many pops of blue that make sense and that you can use to create fun looks with. This is always the palette that I will recommend to people if you want to dip your toes into blue eyeshadow. I think that BH Cosmetics really made blue eyeshadow approachable when formulating this palette. It's just so pretty, so lovely. I absolutely love every look that I've ever done with this palette. So yeah, it just kind of breaks my heart a little bit to think that we almost weren't besties like we are. Like, I almost got rid of you, and I'm very sorry about that. Okay, Sparks Joy. This one was another hard one because it's like, well, every eyeshadow palette in my collection sparks some type of joy. So typically when I receive makeup as gifts, it's something like I've either requested it, it's on a wish list, or like I've mentioned it at some point. I think I have like a rat's nest in my hair. Anyway, I've mentioned it at some point, or it's like, we know Haley really likes her, like greens and her pinks. So getting something in that color family is a pretty safe bet, So my mom got this palette for me for Christmas. It is the Urban Decay Naked Wild West. I always hold the palettes backwards. It is the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette. This palette was not on my radar, was not on like a wish list of mine. My mom just walked into an Ulta and she said, I think Haley will like this. And she's a very smart lady because I did end up really liking this. I love these darker shadows, and for Urban Decay, like these are formulated really nicely. I find them very easy to work with. The only downfall to this palette that I will say is, like with every naked palette, the first 3 to 4 shadows are the same and we could have done without them. Like just give me, you know, standoff and hold them and maybe make these 2 shades right here something that would have been like more helpful in playing with these darker shadows. But anyway, so my mom picked this up and it's a palette that I really do love and enjoy. So this one kind of sparks the most joy for me because it's like somebody took a chance, took a risk, like really thought about like, what is Haley gonna like? And pick something out for me. You know what I mean? Like it makes it mean like a lot to me. So that's why I picked this one for Sparks Joy. Okay, your newest palette. If you guys saw my February low buy update, you know I got 3 new palettes in February. We've already talked about one of them. It's the Blend Bunny palette. So I just went with the one that showed up on my doorstep last. So this is the Uden's Eye palette that they did in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, the Hella palette. Really love this. This was not like a palette that I was gonna get. Like I knew that she had done this and I was like, I'm so happy for you. But my husband ordered this for me for Valentine's Day because I have a low-key love obsession with her. So he picked this up and I'm really glad that he did. It looks a lot prettier in person than I feel like it's looked in pictures and on video. So this is actually the palette that I'm wearing today on my eyes. But yeah, I've just greatly enjoyed this. It's a little bit of an unexpected color story from what I would expect her to release. Like it looks very different from her Kaleidos palette, but I'm really happy that it does. Like I feel like sometimes collab palettes from the same person can look a little samey, but I think that she really tries her hardest to make something interesting and true to herself and true to the brand that she is collaborating with. So yeah, this has just been a great addition into my collection. I've really fallen in love with it, and yeah, it is my newest palette. Okay, last question. So what palette did you first use in the year of 2022? Now we are sitting here and it is March something or another, and I was like, I have no idea what palette I used first in 2022, but luckily I film YouTube videos, and one thing that I always put in my description box for some reason, I don't really know why, is my filming date. I guess in case you want to see the turnaround time from when I film it to when I upload it. Either way, so I went back through and I had a video posted in January, and the filming date was the earliest filming date that I had. It was listed as January 2nd. So the palette that I was wearing in that video was the palette that I decided to say that I wore first in 2022 because it's close enough, right? January 2nd. So let's just keep it on the Angie fan club. It was the Kaleidos Club Nebula palette that Angelica Nyqvist did in collaboration with Kaleidos. Now the background of this one is also super reflective. How can I guess if I hold it right here, it looks pretty good. So this is such a dark and moody palette and I am here for it. I love it. Fun fact, I first ordered this when it initially launched in January of 2020. Was it 2020 or was it 2021? I think it was 2021. Either way, I ordered this when it first launched, and after I ordered it, I was like, oh, Haley, why did you do that? Like that is gonna be such a regret purchase. But it's not. It has actually ended up being one of my top favorite palettes. I have 2 pans of eyeshadow in here, Queen of Blades. If I would hold it right, maybe you could see it. I do have pan in the dark green, Queen of Blades, and then pan in the dark purple, Cylon. This palette is just so well thought out. Every single color in here goes together. Like you can't pick 2 shades and not come up with a good eye look. You know what I mean? Just a really well thought out palette. Sorry that it's discontinued and that I am rambling on about how much I love it. But either way, that wraps up the eyeshadow tag video. Please let me know down in the comments if you have done this video because I would love to come and check your version out. That is one reason why I absolutely love tag videos. We all have the same prompts, but we will all always have different answers. So if you guys enjoyed mine, I will leave a clean copy in the description box of all the prompts so that if you don't make YouTube videos, but you want to answer it in the comment section, that would be fun too, because again, I would just like to know your answers. So I hope you're having a good day, or a good night, or a good whatever, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.